20-minute player now? Is that where we're at?
Well, I wouldn't mind getting $500,000 a week for 20 minutes. It's like,
well, yes, of course.
Here or there. It's, well, I think at the end of the day, he'll have to accept that he's going to have to taper his game, and managers will see it that way. But I don't get the feeling that he's going to take that too well.
No.
Bearing in mind the kind of player he's been and his pomp. But things move on, and unless you're in a team that are all sort of built around you, and you can just do what you need to do, then it's not really going to work. And as Oggy said, when a new manager comes in, and there's no way, there's not a hope in hell Ranić's getting the job at this point. It's just not going to happen. He's had absolutely no impact whatsoever. And as I said last week, he's inherited a bigger mess than he could ever have believed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a problem for Man United if Ronaldo, in terms of football. Mm-hmm. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. He can be a squad. But I think, as Mark said, it's the finances.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money to potentially have a guy there who is not going to be a happy chappy if he's not playing. That's going to filter through to the other players, and they're paying him an awful lot of money. In fact, that sounds familiar at Man United, doesn't it?
Indeed. It's Alexis Sanchez. Yeah, exactly. And when you talk about money, you take a look at these stats that were released this week. United's net spend has been more than anybody else since 2012. They've lost over €1 billion on players. It's quite extraordinary when you take a look at these figures in black and white, Mark. And what is striking is the fact there doesn't seem to be any sort of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, I think these figures are really interesting because what it shows is that United's transfer dealings in that period, since Alex Ferguson left, have been disastrous. I can't think of any players that they've signed in that period that have actually improved while at United. Maybe Bruno Fernandes could say that you could get a bit more money for him than actually paid for him. But if you go through the signings they've made, I don't see any of them coming out to the end saying they've made them better, which is an indictment of Man United. Now think of the strikers they've signed over that period. Some on loan, some for fees, whatever, some free transfers. Falcao, Ibrahimovic, Lukaku, Edinson Cavani, Ronaldo. Apart from Lukaku, how many of those players are people you could say you could get a good 4 or 5 years out of and get a decent return? None. The transfer dealings are terrible. And I actually had a chat with Ed Woodward recently before he left, and I said, why didn't you make signings like Liverpool? When Liverpool were building, they were brave enough to sign players from relegated teams like Andy Robertson from Hull and Gini Wijnaldum from Newcastle, who became great players, Champions League winners, Premier League winners. And I said, look, you wouldn't sign these players because Man United have an issue. It's almost like their signings have to be headline-making, box office signings for big money. They don't see any value in the market. They waste so much money. Donny van der Beek, 40 million, waste. All these Angel Di Maria, 50-odd million pound wasted. They don't make smart acquisitions. And they still haven't done that. And we're talking 8-9 years now, and Ed Woodward's left, and he's talked about how they've got this great new recruitment team and they're ready to make better signings. But, the time is now, or the time was a month ago or 6 months ago when the window was open. I haven't seen United make a smart transfer acquisition for a long time. Even Jadon Sancho, they paid over 70 million for him last summer when there was nobody else in for him. Borussia Dortmund didn't have any clubs chasing him down. £70 million. It's just crazy. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, £50 million for a right back that basically can't pass the ball. So they waste so much money. So those numbers for me don't surprise me because they may spend money on players, but there's never any resale value. They never make a profit because they don't make them better.
Okay, I'm imagining Ed Woodward never gave you an answer when he was asked this question about the wastefulness.
He disagreed. Yeah, he felt that they have made, because they made a profit on Daniel James, but it has been a litany of transfer disasters since 2012. Probably prior to Woodward coming in. Let's look at some of the signings that Sir Alex made. People forget how the rot set in before David Moyes and Ed Woodward came. Sir Alex, Bebe, Gabriel Obertan, all these players that were hopeless, basically. And I think the rot started when they signed Van Persie. It was a great signing, but Van Persie he kind of broke the mould in the sense that United started buying players at the wrong end of the career. prior to Van Persie, they would never sign a player over 27. That was a rule that David Gill and Ferguson stuck to. We don't sign players over 27 because we want them to give Man United the best years of their career. Van Persie came in, was brilliant for a year, and it broke the mould. And I think United are still paying the price for the success, the short-term success of Van Persie, because all the signings since have been, certainly the big ones, short-term measures.
Dan.
Yes.
You've made a net loss of $1 billion.
Yes.
You're struggling to get in the top 4. You've sacked how many managers and had to pay them off, and he disagrees on the success of
course he's going to disagree.
Policy.
What's he going to say?
If that doesn't tell you about the way this club has been run under the ownership of the Glazers, what the hell?
What about Daniel James? Go on, Frank.
Listen, he did admit they made mistakes early on. I think the Van Gaal years, from Van Gaal onwards, they feel they've done. When Van Gaal left, they think since Van Gaal they've had a better fist of it. But I think you look at the players you signed, and I'm not quite sure that's right.
I think that the main concern that I have about that club, it's a real mystery. In fact, I think how fast you can forget where you come from, the genes that you have in your history. You have to name all the players who made the history of the club, and starting from George Best, for example, and all the players who died on that plane a long time ago in the 70s. They were all coming from the club. They were all from the academy. And the best player that you have who came from another club were players like Ronaldo at his beginning, or Cantona coming from Leeds. I don't remember a player coming from a crazy amount of money doing something fantastic from Manchester United. It's only the player who have something to prove or just starting their career who brought the light and the brightness of that into that club. That's it. When they started to spend money and crazy money on players, it's where they started to lose everything. And it's been for a decade now. And some people have to pay for that, because that's enough. That club cannot stand like that.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.